selectively displaying because something, whatever you guys come up with. Right? And then you say, well, we're going to test this hypothesis. And it's true that when you read the primary literature, you will get, to test this hypothesis, we perform the following experiments. Well, where did they come from? How did they know to make up those experiments? What's the origin of those experiments?
So they could go back and like that video, like you could look at that video and say, and like try to find a common ground between the females that they were approaching and see if you could develop a
Just looking at the natural world and seeing how they.
Okay, so you're gonna have to make you're gonna have to collect more observations,
data.
more data, and you would like to support your hypothesis. But how did you come up with how did they come up with which experiments to do? When you say I'm going to test my hypothesis, what do you think you're really doing? Okay, so in the end, you would like to show, or you would like to support your hypothesis. So your starting point is, when you go into making experimental design, your starting point is, if my hypothesis is true, then this will happen. Right? So what's that? What do you call that? If you say, if I'm right, then this will happen. What's that?
Prediction.
A prediction. Right? So the general framework, you have people make observations in the world. We either see them directly or read other people's descriptions in the literature. We come up with questions. Why does this happen, or how does this happen? From those we develop a hypothesis. And then from that hypothesis we say, if I'm right, or if my hypothesis is correct, then I would predict A, B, and C. And we're going to see that experimental design will come out of then testing those predictions. So when you test a hypothesis, you're actually testing the predictions that arise, assuming your hypothesis is correct. Does that make sense? All right, so your next little assignment in here is, so we're going to play with that first question. So I want you to come up with a hypothesis, and then assuming that hypothesis is correct, come up with at least one prediction, but I think you can come up with maybe a couple or three. Okay? So take 10 minutes or so to do that.